What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of No Blood, No Foul podcast. Sorry we missed y'all in the last game, but we're here and we're ready to talk some basketball with y'all. Tonight was a throwback basketball game to the '90s, like the Knicks and Pacers of old, with the Knicks finally winning this lovely game at 92-84. Big big stuff from the bench once again. IQ and Rose pretty much led the charge. IQ is just like a bundle. He's just like lightning in a bottle right now. He's just so explosive, and him just stepping on the floor just changes the whole complexion of a game. And he looks like he's having the most fun that on the court than anybody else on the entire world. Like I've never seen somebody smile and so happy and so impactful all at the same time. Like usually players play with like an edge, but he just plays with joy. And when he's on, like he's been on the last few games, it's so lovely to watch, and it makes me so happy. So Moo, tell me your thoughts on this comeback victory for our New York Knickerbockers.
I know. I think my blood pressure was like 220 over like 180 for most of that game. They still have problems. Still not right. It's great that they have a bench. I mean, a win is a win, but it's a lot of these things where the net result is okay, at least we won. So I'm very happy that they won. I was critical, right? They couldn't afford another loss.
They had to win.
Yeah, this was about as must win a game as they've had all season, and they pulled it off. And it was against, I think, a pretty healthy Pacer team, right? Last time they had an excuse where, I think Levert and
Hold on a second. They didn't have a potential star, Chris Duarte, on there, so they're
I was
missing their
wondering.
future franchise player.
I was watching the game going, who's missing? And
TJ
right.
Warren's not around either.
Okay.
But again, we didn't have Mitch for half the game. We didn't have Noel.
Nerlens, yeah.
Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention, which is probably the most important thing that actually did happen in this game, the Knicks defense finally showed up for the first time this season. I'm going to say second time. In the overtime games against Boston, the first game, right, we played some defense that night as well. But we held the Pacers for 2 for 21 for 10 points. They literally did not score a basket for the last 7 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Very, very good stuff from our New York Knickerbockers there.
Definitely.
I was honestly super worried when all of a sudden Tibbs started bringing back the starters once Randall came back in, and then later on RJ, and I was just kind of expecting the bottom to fall out, like what we saw in the last game, where Obi got pulled for Randall, and the next thing you know, the other team made a run. Tonight that didn't happen. Randall kind of like fell into that like kind of like Draymond Randall role as opposed to just taking god awful contested mid range jumpers. He made some nice passes. He found our IQ for a corner three that was huge. I think that tied the game up again.
He was only 5 for 15. I mean, he just wasn't shooting. He was still chucking. I'm normally kind of on the defend Randall side, but tonight was definitely not a good game, at least for the first half. But like you said, he makes up for it. He boards, he passes. I think he only had, I'm looking at the stats, he was a -2, which might not sound good, but out of all of the starters, that was pretty damn good. So I think he's.
I think the biggest thing is that he actually got some defensive rebounds and that were contested defensive rebounds.
Right.
It's what would have broken us is if what has broken us many times before is fourth quarter offensive rebounds. And I mean, Randall got thrown to the ground once tonight, and I was like, oh god, that's gotta hurt his back. But he was in there battling Sabonis, and I feel like it's the first time I've seen in a long time where he's put in maximum effort.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's something we still need to. I guess we'll talk. At some point we'll have to talk about what's not right and what do they need to do and stuff like that. But I think Randall, he played a fair game. He made up for just not shooting well. I mean, a lot of the Knicks were like, let's see, RJ was 4 for 13, Randall was 5 for 15, Fournier was 3 for 9, and that was the three-fifths of your starting lineup.
Were absolutely horrendous.
Awful. Yeah.
Well,
awful.
So what was super great is that RJ was actually 4 of 7 in the second half.
Right.
He scored 12 points, hit 3 threes, 1 for 2 at the line. Not super great, but I'm like hoping that this is kind of like him getting right, because he's kind of been atrocious for like the past like 5 games or so, and I'm like talking like worse in his career, like 5-game run. I honestly don't even think he was as bad as he was the beginning of last season, where he went like 2 of 20, or was like 4 of 22 from 3 in a stretch. Like, he actually had some halfway decent games in that like chunk. And this has probably been the worst 5-game run in his career, and I'm like really hoping that this second half kind of is going to wake him up a little bit.
Well, he had a good 5-game run. It was like a 5-game run where he was doing really well, and then now 5 games where he's awful. So
yeah, I was about to tweet out. I was about to be like, maybe it's time. And I think it was like right after Burks like had like an elite defensive possession. I forget who he was guarding, but he like locked him up. And I was just like, maybe it's time to send RJ to the bench. Like, they like to play fast. He likes to play fast. Maybe, it's a good way to get him going is to like start Burks. Burks seems to be like defending better than RJ is right now too. You don't think so?
No, he's not. He's not a good defender.
I'm not saying he's a good defender. I'm just saying he's defending better than RJ at the moment.
Yeah, no, he really isn't.
Okay. All right. But yeah, so that was the thought that crossed my mind. I was just like, maybe it's something. There needs to be some sort of change, because like the offensive guys all stink together with the starters, and maybe just something else will get some sort of spark going. And then And then Tibbs, what ended up happening was that Tibbs started mixing and matching, and we probably had a couple lineup combinations that we've never really played before. I mean, that there was a stretch of like Obi, Randall, IQ, Burks, and Rose. And then there was a section where Rose and Kemba were both on the bench, and IQ was playing running point. There was lots and lots of mixing and matching tonight, which I liked. It was different, and I gotta say, Tibbs definitely coached a hell of a game. His substitutions were on point.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot better. What's interesting is Walker shot 72% from the field, and he led the team in plus minus. I mean, he was the worst in plus minus at minus 15, which is, kind of crazy.
I gotta think that has something to do with him not getting any like mix match time with the bench. Because like obviously like the starters were pretty bad in the first half. I mean,
right. Other than Walker.
Other than Walker. I mean, they were up by like 7 with like 50 seconds to go, or was it like 5 with 50 seconds to go? And then the Pacers hit 2 threes within that 50 seconds to take the lead. Just like stuff like that. It's like that's going to swing you 6 points in plus minus like real quickly. And then if you don't get any points or in a Knicks run, or you're not on the floor when the Knicks go on a run, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
Let me see some other fun facts that I saw tonight. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the point guards, it's so weird to say because it's been so long since this team has had any good, decent point guard play, but we were pretty much led by our point guards tonight. IQ, 16 points, 5 rebounds, Rose with a 14 and 7 and 5, and then Kemba with 16 points on a 72%. I mean, with that, that's great. We've never really had guard play like that.
We still kind of, I think, relatively speaking, compared to what we've seen, tonight was a really good night. But it was still splotch. I think if you look at they had 22 assists, which I think, what's their season average, Kyle, in assists? I know the Knicks are not necessarily in the upper quarter.
Let me check real quick. It's
like the first
21.8.
So they're right on. But they had, if I'm looking at this correctly, it's 22 assists to 10 turnovers. That's not very good.
Well, here's the thing.
Like a little over 2 for 1, right?
Here's the thing. Our average on a season, 22 assists to 14 turnovers.
Oh, really? So we actually did well.
I mean, 2 to 1 isn't. I wouldn't say is terrible.
It's terrible.
Assist to turnover. It's certainly not elite, but I don't wouldn't say it's bad.
I'm just gonna say for context. So I think what you're thinking of is like your point guard. You want to be well over 2-to-1 assists to turnover, but for the whole team, 2-to-1 is about right.
Average.
So the Warriors are number 1 assist team in the league at 29.5. They have 15.8 turnovers. The Spurs are second with 28.5, 13.2 turnovers. So the highest assist is around 30, whereas the low for turnovers is around 13. But those teams get usually less assists. So usually, 2 to 2.5 is about what you want for a team. Because remember, offensive fouls like bad screens count as a turnover.
Sure.
Right. Okay.
Good point.
Yeah, I think our just biggest problem right now is that we just haven't been able to figure out a way to get all of our guys going.
Especially the starters, just too many. I think too many guys that are so used to having the ball more than they have, and I think Clyde mentioned it in the game that it looked like they were trying to be too nice, and not wanting to step on anybody's toes. Right? I'm sure he's directing at Randall and probably especially Walker.
Yeah, I mean, they have horrendous chemistry.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm looking at Evan Fournier, and his right now he's shooting 40.9% from the field and 35.6% from three, which would 40% is the lowest of his career. That 35th or 35.6 is tied for the second lowest of his career. Yeah, 2018 and 2019, he shot 34% from three. So like he's like playing way below his basketball card right now. And 14 games is like a pretty decent sample size as well. That's no like small bit of games. So I feel like it's gonna be only a matter of time before these guys figure it out, and we're gonna start scoring again.
You want to know what part of it is with Kemba though? He took 11 shots tonight. Only one was a 3-pointer.
He must listen. He must listen to the pod because I've been begging for him to drive a little bit more, and it certainly helps. And like that's what the guys on the game, Breen and Walt, were saying a bunch is that like the Knicks got a lot of good looks. They were just missing them. That's certainly from Kemba doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, even RJ's regressed pretty a substantial amount from last year in less minutes. I mean, he's shooting 40.8% from the field, 34, almost 35% from three. So that's quite a step back. And,
so do you guys?
I think that's not include. I don't think that's including tonight. So maybe that 3-point percentage will go up a little. So
14 games in. You guys think it's how much of this is Walker not looking right, and how much, which is I think more of a concern than just these guys not developing chemistry yet, which is honestly less of a concern, right? What's your guys' take? Is it Walker physically? Right, basically is how he is physically maybe impeding the ability to gel with Randall.
I don't know if it's at least not these past two games. The past two games, like this, looks like the Kemba I was kind of expecting to get. I mean, tonight, like I said tonight, and Kyle said it too. He only took 1-3, and a lot of his stuff was like off the dribble, getting into the paint. I mean, he finished over Miles Turner at one point in the game, which was awesome. I don't really know. I think everyone's struggling because Randall likes to ISO, like a little too much. Like everyone's trying to like get him his shots, and it's like really like bogging everything down. Maybe like inflecting high in my voice at the end because I'm not sure.
Right,
Kyle, what do you think?
I think part of the problem is that we do need to just have the guards be the one to handle the ball. I think part of it is like them coming here, be like Kemba. He used to be great, but then he has to come here on a sort of reduced salary to where Randall's already established. So in his mind, he's probably got a little bit of like, hey, this is his team. I gotta let him rock. But the issue is, we'd be better if Kemba was more aggressive out there. So I think that's part of the issue. But it's just a whole thing. One of the big reasons why the bench is better, because we let Derrick Rose handle the ball. If we were letting Obi Toppin handle the ball the way we let Randall handle the ball, it would be so much worse.
I wonder if there's any way to see how often Rose handles the ball when he's out there with Randall.
Yeah, I think that was. I think that was really big.
I can find. Find something approximating that. Just give me a minute.
Okay. It just seems like when Rose is out, the ball goes less to Randall.
Well, especially tonight.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Tonight it was like there was one moment where like Randall was pushing the ball on the break, and he just like dribbled into a double team and like got stripped.
Right.
And like the Pacers like obviously took the ball the other way. I don't remember if they ended up finishing or not. But I think after that moment is when we saw the pecking order went, give the ball to Rose and let him do stuff.
Hey, that's the number one reason I keep harping about bringing a top tier guard, because I really don't want Randall. And, I know it sounds like in the forum on the board that I'm supporting or defending Randall. I just don't think he should be doing what he does, but for whatever reason, coach, talent, whatever, right? He is, and he has to. I think there's some element of he has to still. But that's my point of saying, if Walker is just Rose, but kind of worse, right, from a physical standpoint.
Yeah.
Then maybe,
I think too it's that they just need to pick and choose his isolations, and I think he needs to dribble less. Like obviously the jumper is not as good as it was last year. There's been a regression in the jumper, whether that's because of the full arenas again or people are defending him differently. I think you just need to get him the ball in different spots, and I think letting him post up is like. Worldwide Wob posted a picture on Twitter the other like a few hours ago, and it was like Randall in the paint, like posting somebody up with like 5 guys surrounding him. They almost like essentially built the Giannis wall against him, and it's just like this isn't working.
That's still the defense.
Yeah.
Right. It's still you make sure Randall doesn't beat you and everybody else on the Knicks until they prove otherwise. I think part of it is why Rose does so well. Rose is he's lost his explosiveness, but he knows he has a great sense of when he's open and when he should shoot.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you have him opening, he's got the shot up.
So
right? He's not forcing things.
Did you guys hear him in the post game? He sounded exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he was like out of breath.
Yeah. So I can't tell you what the isolation numbers are. I can tell you his usage percentage. So when Julius is on court with Rose, his usage percentage actually goes up from 26.9 to 28.9. So I don't know how much of that is, does his ISO numbers go down and his pick and roll or his spot numbers go up? I can't tell you that specifically. But what's interesting is, so what happens is when Randall is off court and Rose is on, Rose has a usage rating of 25%. It drops down to 20% when Randall's on court.
Sense.
Yeah.
Is Randall better? Randall's better with Rose on the floor, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. By a lot. Basically, every advanced stat says that everybody is better with Rose instead of Kemba. So, yeah. I hate to say that about my boy, but so with the Kemba on, which is basically because him and Rose swap, Julius is a negative 14.1, which is mostly due to the defense, which when Rose is on, he's a positive 14.3. And that's, like I said, that's mostly a 24-point difference in defense. We go from 98.4 with Rose to 118 with Kemba. But that is, again, how some of that is because Rose plays against backups, whereas Kemba plays against starters. So that's a little iffy. But then,
how much could that possibly?
Yeah,
I'm sure that skews.
Flattens out a little bit over time.
Yeah. I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't.
Yeah, but, and so the interesting number for me is, So when it's Rose and no Randall, our offensive rating is 116.7. Rose and Randall together 109.1. So
yeah.
So Randall makes Rose a little worse, but Rose makes Randall a lot better.
Right.
Jeez.
I think that makes sense because I think when Randall's not on, Rose is the number one, and for the minutes he's playing, which is like 24 minutes or 25 minutes a night, I'm guessing. Him being number one is he has the freedom to take his shots and not having to worry about Randall so much. So he's the number one, and I think it's pretty clear he's the best per minute shooter or scorer on this team. I think.
I think it's pretty clear that Rose is the best player on this team,
right?
Unless we see Julius finally get things together. Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty clear that Derrick Rose is the best guy on the squad.
So do you guys think the Knicks should move Rose into the starting lineup, move Walker off the bench, and let Walker just kind of freestyle, right, without Randall and needing to
and let him 6-man it?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the first thing I would try. I think the first thing I would try is probably Burks for RJ. I think might be the first thing I would try. And there's a close second for IQ for Fournier.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two things that I would probably do before that. Because I if I didn't watch Rose in the post game being interviewed and I went into doing the podcast, I would have been like, yes, we have to obviously start Rose. But just hearing him breathe heavy, and it must have been 10 minutes after the game, and he only played 25 minutes, and he was completely out of breath, and he looked shot. And I don't know if you can really rely on him for starters minutes. Yep. I just don't think you can. So if I'm gonna tinker, I think I'm gonna tinker with Fournier or RJ first.
Get a little more energy and speed, right?
Yeah, and I think the most important thing with IQ is that he's a much better defender than Evan Fournier. I think him being super long and lanky allows him to get around screens a little bit better than either RJ or Fournier can. And I just think that matters so much because we always have to the bigs always have to hedge pick and roll because RJ doesn't get around screens really well. Kemba was actually pretty good tonight, surprisingly. I thought he got around screens really well and contested, but yeah, I mean RJ and Fournier just seem to die on screens at least tonight. So
Fournier especially.
Yeah.
I think if you swap RJ for Burks, you're gonna regret it within half a game. You'll get maybe if Burks has one of his good games, but you're not gonna like that after any amount of time. I just see it as a way to get RJ. You're gonna remember this. I'm gonna remember this.
Hey, go for it. I don't care.
We already have Jim giving up on RJ 14 games into the season.
No, it's not that I'm giving up on RJ. I just think the bench plays the same style as RJ Barrett, and I want him to thrive in something that they He needs to play with tempo, and the starters just don't play with that. There's no it's either because there's no chemistry or Randall doesn't want to run. But I think to unlock RJ Barrett, you need to play with guys that want to run.
What we need to do is we need to stagger him and Randall.
Okay.
We should have at least one of them on court pretty much at all times.
Yeah, that was my kind of first thought too. Depending on whether RJ goes off in the first or not, sub him out at the 4:30 mark, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Give him the first 5 minutes. Then, unless he's really super on, then pull him, let him sit. Maybe the rest of the first. Then once Randall goes to the bench, he comes back in and plays with the bench. I think that just makes sense.
Yeah. Are you thinking that would you sub Fournier for IQ in the starting lineup?
No, I wouldn't. Just because
you would stick with this.
I think Fournier is still a more consistent player than Quickley. So I still would rather have him start, and I would start Rose over Kemba, but I will keep the minutes distribution about as they are, where they're only playing about 24 minutes each. Plus, I think that would help Rose because instead of it's the same argument I was making last year, right? You start Rose and you play him about 6 minutes a quarter. That's better than bringing him off the bench for the last 12 to 13 minutes.
Yeah, right.
You don't want. I don't want Rose to be playing the entire fourth quarter because even though we kind of need that. I would much rather have Rose more refreshed for the last 6 minutes than.
Well, that's what I really loved about what Tibbs did tonight. He pulled Rose and brought RJ back in and let IQ run point for a little bit. Because at the same time, I believe Burks and Randall were on the floor at the same time. So there was still 3 ball handlers. And I guess whether you want to consider RJ a ball handler or not, he's also on there that can create a little bit. So I think that was what was so smart about what Tibbs did, is so that he allowed Rose to come back fresh and make some plays without having him to play the whole fourth.
Exactly.
So how about a different approach, right? With Mitch maybe gonna miss a game or two. It sounds like he hurt his ankle. I don't know how bad it is. What do you guys think about maybe moving Randall to center and starting Toppin next to him?
I think
to get some energy in.
That's terrible. Well, it's
since we're playing Orlando, I would try it against Orlando. Who's really? I mean,
because if Robinson's out, then you've got basically Taj and Taj.
You're pretty much small anyway with Taj.
Yeah, and you don't want to go Taj 35 because he looks slow. Even though he had the team leading 22 plus minus, he looked.
Well, he saved the day.
Right, but it was kind of like all effort, right? It was like
there was I don't remember who it was, but they cut back door, and it was like an easy dunk, and Taj Stretch Armstronged out and swatted the ball away, and I was just for that moment I was like, oh no, it's all over, and Taj saved the day. I mean, he also had a pretty clutch block too, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's why I think Taj you want to use in a stopper. Yeah. Right. If the team you need someone come in to just kind of lock down defensively, you can bring him in. You can't really do that as much if you start him and try to ride him for 30, 33, 35, whatever many minutes.
I think it's worth trying, especially against Orlando, where they don't really have a big that's going to really destroy us. I mean, Wendell Carter's halfway decent, and Mo Bamba, I guess, has been showing some life either. But I don't think that we're gonna really get too crushed on the boards. I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, maybe put Randall guarding some guy that's not gonna move as much. Part of his problem defensively is maybe he's trying to say, but I don't know what it is. Right? I think he tends to have problems with forwards that move a lot. So maybe you kind of park him and let Toppin guard be the more mobile guy to guard your perimeter bigs. Maybe that'll do something. And Toppin's better offensively, obviously, than any Robinson and Nerlens. So he should maybe he'll give the Knicks another open 3. He can make it if guys are swarming Randall. He'll find a cutter. Toppin cuts better. Right now Robinson just looks real slow.
he looks god awful. I mean, he had one dunk in the dunker spot, and I didn't think he was going to get up over the rim. He's lost all his, and I don't know if it's because of the foot injuries, but yeah, he doesn't look good
right now. He's kind of almost in that Drummond, Cousins category of big strong guys that are having problems moving. Not as bad.
He still has better defensive instincts.
Right.
Yeah. Even his shot blocking is kind of falling off too. So this is a little off topic because we brought up Orlando. Surprisingly, Cole Anthony has been pretty good for them. I'm just looking up. He had another pretty big game tonight, even though they lost to our lovely rivals, the Hawks. But yeah, he's 44% from the field, almost 40% from 3. I know there was a lot of fans of Coleslaw on the board, and it looks like he's much better in the NBA than he was at his 1 year at UNC.
He got 29 today. Well, wow, 29 points, 11 assists.
Yeah, he real surprising
pretty
stuff.
Good.
Last year's draft class, I don't think is as bad as people think it was. I mean, Obi and IQ are definitely pretty damn good.
Well, Obi's good for a bench player.
Yeah, that's better than nothing.
If I pretend that we drafted Quickley 8th and Obi 25th, I think it's a lot better.
Yeah, I'm with you. But again, to end up with 2 rotation players in an alleged bad draft, I think is pretty solid. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is pretty good. Obviously, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards is pretty decent too. I don't know if you guys saw. There was a clip that went viral. Anthony Edwards was like isoing on the wing, and Towns just like walked back on defense. Yeah. So
Anthony Edwards is one of those guys who I think has all the talent in the world. He just needs to learn how to play team basketball.
Yeah, he's not going to do that on a really bad team with, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of the same with Jalen Green.
Yeah.
I think Jalen Green and Anthony Edwards, they have so high potentials, but you need to work on them a bit. They're not going to be able to get there just by themselves.
Well, my biggest fear of Anthony Edwards is that he's more of a J.R. Smith than he.
Oh, he's definitely more. I think he's a lot more skilled. Smith was talented, but you know he had holes in his game other than the holes in his head. But I think Edwards is definitely a lot more talented. Like Kyle said, I think it's all, you know, just a young guy thinking that, you know, he's a lot better than he needs to think he is.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, he puts the ball in the hoop very well.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yep. He was the guy I wanted.
I was Team LaMelo all the way. I think we should have traded Mitch to get up there and get him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of, you know, it goes into what I'm saying, I've been saying about, you know, at some point you have to kind of take a chance and, you know, rather than having all of these, playing it safe would be, you know what, let's just keep all of our picks at where they are and we'll just draft smart and safe. Playing, you know, a little more dangerous is let's, you know, bundle a whole bunch of them and move up. You know, if you really believe in Edwards or LaMelo, you go and get them. Maybe they tried and they couldn't, but you know that's the type of moves that I think, you know, the teams need to do. Right? It's a talent-based league, and you need guys that know how to play.
Especially now that we have.
For me, I was not sold on any of them coming out. I thought, and I still do think that a lot of that they have a lot of question marks around them.
Right.
Like, you know, I was pretty dead wrong about LaMelo, because he has been so much better than I thought he'd be. I thought he'd be so much more raw coming in. I thought what we see now was going to be like year 3, 4 from him.
Right.
I thought he would be better than Lonzo, but not by this much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's definitely. Yeah. He definitely is a whole step better than Lonzo, and especially now, like if we look at it in hindsight and we see fat, slow Mitch, that it's like, oh, that was such a no-brainer to give that a shot. Yeah. Well, that was the rumor that the Warriors.
That, like, no. It wasn't 8 and Mitch for 2. It was like 8, Mitch, RJ, and future picks for 2.
I don't think that wasn't the rumor that I saw. I thought it was 8 Mitch and then whatever pick we ended up having for IQ, which was
there was
27 or 25.
There was
he ended up being
the rumor was that it needed to be 8 RJ and then more stuff, and we weren't.
Well, no, the package was around Mitch, because that was who they were looking. They were looking for a big that can contribute. Well, the package being around RJ doesn't make any sense.
I think 8 Mitch, the IQ pick, and maybe another future pick would have been.
Yeah, I could see that, but like I feel like I remember it being different. But anywho, what else should we talk about this game?
You guys seen any good movies lately?
I haven't.
I just finished John Adams today.
Nobody cares. All right, moving on.
I know.
Oh, man. Get with the times, man.
What was I gonna say? Why don't we do Scrub of the Night? Who you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll go with TJ Mcconnell. It was kind of toss up, right? Miles Turner just looked invisible. You know, maybe he was thinking about being in a Knicks uniform. I don't know. But TJ McConnell, I don't even know what exactly does he do well.
I think he's just like a penetrator. I think that's what. I think
he didn't really do that much of that either. He can't shoot, right? He's not much of a defender. He didn't penetrate at all. I don't know what his stats were. I just remember seeing him on the court and going, "Why is he even on the floor?"
He was 1 for 8, 0 for 3 from 3, 1 assist, minus 14. He had the worst plus minus on their squad.
Gotcha. Then yeah. So yeah, definitely. It just visually he looked awful, and wasn't he someone that a lot of the guys wanted on the board at some point? I remember a lot of.
I know there was talk about picking him up as a bench guy.
Right.
Yeah, I think he's like a decent he's like a I don't know, maybe like a worse Alex Caruso at this point.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, he does some okay bench things.
Okay.
If anybody wanted us to start him, I don't think it would be for non-basketball reasons. Let's just leave it at that. But
gotcha.
They'd love him over in Utah, but so.
Well, I mean, Indiana is probably another one of those places as well.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm gonna do scrub of the night, I feel like it's tough to go with Miles Turner because he did have a positive plus minus, but
plus minus is a bullshit stat. Never use it in an argument.
Yeah, especially in single games. I know it matters like more over bigger sample sizes or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, considering he's
okay.
Well, considering he absolutely lit us up and he was the reason that they won last time, why not? I'll go with Miles Turner. 1 of 4 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. They couldn't find a way to get him involved at all. I think the most horrendous part of this is that he only had 3 rebounds. Bad. And he is an elite shot blocker, but two blocks, not so great at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, I like to go outside of the arena for scrub of the night because it is scrub of the night, and I have to go with, just to be completely fair and balanced, TM, with one of my guys who I have a vested interest in seeing play well. Evan Mobley tonight went 0 for 11 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, scored 1 point on a free throw. He did have 9 boards, 5 assists, and 2 blocks, but still, you can't go 0 for 11. His first really bad game. So I'm giving him scrub of the night.
Yeah, what's so wild is that he was so bad. He was like really bad in summer league.
Oh yeah,
and in like the preseason, and all of a sudden, like now that there's regular games going on, he like looks like Tim Duncan, the Redux.
He's just been rock solid up until tonight. Really.
Yeah. What a great pick. I know. Like everyone's kind of been beaten up on the Rockets, and just the Rockets because they went for Green. Yeah. And I would have done the same thing. So I can't really speak.
Killian Hayes. Oh, not Killian Hayes. Jesus, no. I don't know why I said him. What's his face? Cade Cunningham. He actually had a pretty decent game tonight. Let me see if I can find it. It was.
Yeah, he went 10 of 20, 5 of 11 from 3 for 25 points.
Yeah.
Oh, 8 rebounds, 8 assists.
Yeah.
That's some like Luka-like stuff.
Yeah. He finally looks like the guy that was supposed to go number 1 overall.
Yeah. Cunningham was supposed to be like Grant Hill, right?
Yeah.
Like
I think a lot. No.
I
think a lot of people.
Grant Hill, and he was before my time, so correct me if I'm wrong, but he was super athletic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's not Cade.
Cade's more in the line of like Luka. He's
more like
crafty,
LaMelo,
crafty jump shooter. Yeah.
More like LaMelo, like a guy.
More like that guy. Who's the guy from Portland that would have had a great career, but he hurt himself?
Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
He's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's another one too. But yeah, I would say, I would say Brandon Roy's not a bad comparison for Cade Cunningham either. I don't think that's that bad of a comp.
Yeah, I mean, if he can do that, I wasn't a huge fan. I know a lot of guys thought he's was going to be spectacular. I thought he was going to be a really solid, potential star, but I wasn't really that high on him. So
yeah, I was worried. I was worried because he shot I think it was like 41 or 42% from 2-point range.
Yeah.
And like he only had like one dunk in like this whole second half of the NCAA season. So I was like kind of worried that he wouldn't be able to really get into the paint at all. And obviously that's like one of the most important things you can do as a star. It's like hit off the dribble jumpers and get to the rim.
Right.
And it's like it's great that he can do one of those two things. So that was my big concern, and which one of the reasons why I like Jalen Green more is because like for me, I feel like Green can get to anywhere on the floor anytime he wants.
Right.
But I'll have to look at his highlights from tonight to see how he scored to really pass judgment.
Well, I would assume that he took the ball and he put it in the hoop.
He did it a lot, and he did it at a really elite efficiency. Yeah. But I think it still matters how you score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to see how that happens.
Yeah. But enough about talking about other players. Because why not?
I was gonna say, one thing I want to say. There was one point in the game, I think it was late in the fourth, where I think the game really turned. That was when Sabonis kind of pulled a Charles Smith. Remember that it was like two shots, about right. He was right on the basket.
Mm-hmm.
He just needed to lay it up.
He missed them both.
He flubbed both of them. That was when he did that. I was like, yeah, the next one, because that was the backbreaker for the Pacers. When you miss 2 near point blank layups, right, where he should have probably just grabbed it and gone for the dunk, because I don't think there were any big guys around him, and he just kind of flubbed both of them. Charles Smith.
I think Randall was the guy guarding him.
Mm-hmm.
That moment, that moment for me was when RJ went backdoor for the dunk and Rose found him.
Right.
That seemed to be like a backbreaker moment for me, where the Pacers were just like, oh man. So what? Do you guys have any final thoughts on this game?
Now, what's the next game?
We're playing Orlando on Wednesday.
How are they doing? Better than that?
Well, they lost last night or tonight, and
they're bottom of the East.
Yeah,
right now,
but they did beat us before.
Yeah,
which matters.
That's a problem.
And I want to say in exciting news today. I ordered my Knicks City Edition jerseys, which are kind of like but they're black, but they're like kind of like a throwback to like
they look nice.
The 99 2000 squad, and I got Rose's jersey. I wanted IQ, but I ended up with Rose. So, they were the two guys that ended up being, the catalysts for our victory. So I'm glad that I have really good taste.
Nobody's getting Randall. Randall sold out.
When I last checked, Evan Fournier had the most jerseys available. I don't know what they're saying now.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No offense. I'm sorry, Evan, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that like even like Obi's jersey sold out faster than Evan's did.
Yeah, I mean, I think Obi right now he's gotten really into the fan favorite kind of
I mean, the people love him. How could you not?
Yeah.
God, it's so crazy right now that the Washington Wizards are at the top of the East.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about it. You think that's sustainable? What exactly are they doing?
I don't know. I obviously I haven't gotten to watch them that much, but I wonder if they've had like an easy schedule or something like that. But they've won 2 overtime games. They're 8-2 in the last 10. Just like some real good stuff. And
I think part of it is who they got for Westbrook, right?
Yeah, Kuzma, and then obviously they trade it for Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah, and Harold.
Dinwiddie and Harold. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say I feel kind of bad for saying this, but whenever I think of Montrezl Harrell, I don't know if I told you guys this. I just remember that back in his rookie year, he made Shaqtin' a fool, and Shaq kept calling him Montreal Harrell. So I'm sorry, I can't think of him as Montrezl Harrell anymore.
Yeah, that's a lot funnier.
Yeah, I'm not. I've always been a fan because I'm a Louisville fan, so I've had to watch him, since he was with Louisville, and I always thought he was going to be a real dominant player, right? Dominant not in a star sense, but just really making impact with the way he plays.
Yeah, he's a damn good player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a bench guy, but I mean
you have to put him in the
it is what it is.
right situation. Yeah, he was just he was on the Lakers, right? Was the Lakers?
No, he was a
The
Clippers
Clippers.
guy.
And then
Yeah, that
Lakers.
just was a really bad. Yeah, those were two bad fits where he just was kind of like.
So the story about the Wizards is actually that nobody knows where Rui Hachimura is.
Where?
Nobody
Really,
knows where he is.
He just went MIA.
He's basically MIA. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He checked in or something and then just went missing. Like he's alive. Like we know that. We just don't know like what he's doing.
He went Bison Delay and disappeared.
So did he pull a Rose or
Rose
or a Kyrie from a few years ago?
I think I don't know. I think it was something to do with his mental health. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like I don't know the whole story. I just know that there's something weird going on there. He hasn't played at all this year.
That is bizarre.
And he's not injured. I know that much.
Oh, also, Bradley Beal isn't playing right now either.
He's not?
No, at least he didn't play tonight. They were led by Dinwiddie, followed by Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Wow.
Yeah,
my boy Denny Advia.
Yeah, they're winning. Funnily enough, by defense, they're middle of the pack offensively, 15th, but 4th in defense, which is just
energy, I guess, right? That they're playing with.
It's just
that's
it's
good
weird.
enough.
It's so weird given how like they have been
history,
terrible on defense the past few years. Like
yeah, seriously,
absolutely terrible.
But they've gotten a couple. They have a couple of physical energy guys. Gafford I think has been playing really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Harrell.
Yeah. Apparently, Denny Advia. I don't know why.
Really?
I keep getting Wizards news in my Twitter feed. I don't know why.
Me too.
Have you? Okay, yeah. So I'm not the only one. I'm like, I don't know why this is happening, but I keep getting like Wizard beat writers talking about Denny Advia's defense, and apparently he's been like pretty elite. I mean, tonight he was 11 and 10, 5 of 6 shooting, plus 18.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was a fan of his. I thought he would kind of play like a small ball for like Draymond-ish on offense, not really on defense. But
so tell me, guys, what you think about this, because I know I've talked about bringing Fox here before, right? And I know we need a third team. What if the Wizards were that third team to take Randall? So like we send them Randall, they send a package based around Rui and Denny to Sacramento. Sacramento sends us Fox. I think the only issue there is we would have to take Bertans' contract, which is $16 a year for the next 3 years.
Wow.
Is he even playing right now?
Bertans? A little bit.
Really? I would think, and he looked like he was going to be a big part of the Wizards team going forward. And he's playing.
Well, he's a backup 3-point shooter. That's like basically a reliever in baseball. You never want to pay him big money.
A long man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so then we would be like, what? Fox, Fournier, RJ, Obi, Mitch.
I know. Just that type of a deal. I think you would then look to move Fournier and Walker and just get younger, right? Not rebuild, but
I would think that you would Kemba would have to go out to make contract salary match.
Yeah.
Although Randall gets what, 25 a year?
Well, that's what's good about our contracts is we have a bunch of guys in that 8 to 15 mil a year range that we can send out that are all decent enough values for their contracts.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. I wonder if the Knicks would do something like. We'll see.
Well, I wonder if the Kings would do something like that.
I mean they won tonight, so.
Where are they at in the standings? Let's take a look.
They're not good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're still kind of hovering in that playoff.
Kind of. But you have to look at it like Fox is kind of having a down year. They have a few pretty good guards that they just drafted with pretty high picks the last couple years. So Fox is already getting paid. he is their best player, but the question, I mean, Harrison Barnes has been playing better, but Fox is their best player. The question is, do they really want to, keep him around, or do they want to just hit the full reset button on the rebuild?
And
they signed him to a max deal, right?
Yeah,
they did. Yeah.
Also, it's the Kings. Like they're Knicks West. They don't make smart decisions.
Yeah.
We should know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just looking at their roster. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's just kind of okay. And this doesn't seem to any kind of direction, right? Compared to if you look at the Cavs roster or, the Wolves roster, there's more meat. Their roster is just kind of like, ugh.
They just really haven't drafted super duper well after Fox. I mean, I don't know if Richard Holmes came in free agency or if he was a
no, he came in
draft
Holmes was,
yeah,
because he started as 76er.
He's the guy that the Knicks should have.
I mean, they had decent drafts the last couple of years. Tyrese Halliburton's pretty nice. Davion Mitchell is really good defensively.
But nothing like other than Fox, the top end, they don't really have any top end guys, right? That's kind of the
and it's weird, I remember there's being something about that 2018 draft, with Luka. I remember something about the Kings in that draft. I can't remember what though.
Yeah, they drafted Marvin Bagley, who went 3 of 9 tonight.
Oh, he actually played? That's a step up.
Yeah, he actually. Yeah, I know he played.
But he's saying something really stupid things as well. He's doing something. I just remember reading something about
he's saying, "I don't want to play for the Kings," which fair.
Which is fair, but then again, it's not like he's been anywhere near his draft slot, and maybe the Kings should be saying, "I don't really want Bagley to play first."
Well, I think what happened the other night is they wanted him to go in the game.
Oh, that's right. That was it. He didn't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was like, "No, I'm not playing."
Well, it's kind of fascinating if you look at his basketball reference page, because he's basically put up the same stats each year since he got in the league. Like all 3 years, between 14 and 15 points, around 7.5 boards, around 1 assist, 1 block, half a steal, 1.5 turnovers, on 11.5 field goal attempts, about 50% shooting.
That's kind of like just enough to get by. And
yeah, he hasn't really shown any improvement in the past 2 years, and he's not good on defense either.
Right. Yeah, he was definitely the stub pick.
Now that we've concluded the Around the NBA section of tonight's podcast.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's time to call this a night. So the Knicks play Orlando on Wednesday. Hopefully they're going to be able to bring this momentum into this game. They have the Knick killer Terrence Ross, and Cole Anthony. Anthony has been very explosive as of late. One of the reasons why I brought him up before we went on our NBA tangent. Knicks win, big game, 92-84, led by Derrick Rose and Emmanuel Quickley. The bench squad doing the bench squad things. Huge thing from tonight was Tibbs mixing and matching his starters with the bench guys, and I think that really got the most out of the whole lineup as a whole. We'll see if Tibbs continues to make smart decisions along those lines. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts? Moo, feel free to pitch in, and then I'll send this off for a good night.
Let's do the send off.
All right.
I have no idea how Solomon Hill is still in the league.
I have no idea what made Dell Demps think that he was worth that contract.
Yeah, I still remember that being one of the first contracts where I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, why?
Not worth that.
Yeah.
All right, so this is another edition of the No Blood, No Foul podcast. I'm here with Moo and Kyle. Maybe we'll see if Coke is going to come back for Wednesday's game. He said he would be back tonight, but couldn't make it. So let's hope that he'll join us on Wednesday. Knicks 92, Pacers 84.